Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Nate, lawyer, YouTuber, and today we're going to look at Alan Dershowitz lying to us. Alright, so this is a video put together by the Washington Post, and I think it's hilarious. It is hilarious. It's funny. It's funny. Let me explain to you what's going on. So, Alan Dershowitz, in 1998, against the Clinton impeachment, he was one of the legal scholars they brought forward to ask, well, hey, can you impeach for these crimes? And he more or less said, he said, no, you don't need a crime to impeach a president. You can impeach him for virtually anything. It's him, Lindsey Graham, all these Republicans, all these stewards of the Republic, these intellectual giants, all for Bill Clinton said he must be impeached and it doesn't need to be criminal activity. And the reason for that, just if it's wrangling your brain, is because since the Republicans wanted to get Bill Clinton out of office, who was a Democrat, you want to make impeachment as broad as possible. Why? Because if you impeach and the impeachment is broad, then it's more likely you're getting conviction. It's extremely broad. Impeachment is extremely broad. But when it's now a Republican who's being impeached under the same sort of reasons, then we scratch our head and we say, well, we actually need a crime to impeach, right? It needs to be a crime, criminal activity. Well, hold on. When it was a Democrat, you said it didn't have to be a crime. You said, no, it doesn't have to be a crime. And now for the Republican, you say it has to be a crime? I think your political bias is showing, like, horribly bad. Now, what this also is going to let you know is that Alan Dershowitz is a political hack. What do I mean by that? He may be a great constitutional scholar. He may be a great attorney, but he is a political hack. He's just got caught with his proverbial panties down. He's been lying to his fans and audience for all these years, and most people don't pick up on things like this. But now that he's been exposed for the fraud that he is, his legal advice on television is just a narrative that's being played to help his client. Before, his clients were the Republicans wanting to kick out Clinton, so guess what? Impeachment is going to be as broad as possible. Now his client is the President of the United States who wants to stay in office. Now impeachment must be a crime because he's more educated now. No. Alan Dershowitz is playing you for a fool. He thinks you are an idiot. He thinks that he can tell you whatever he wants. He thinks that if it's a Republican who's being impeached, it has to be a very narrow set of rules. And if it's a Democrat being impeached, the rules are loose and goes. Don't trust me. Let's listen to it for ourselves. Check it out.
It certainly doesn't have to be a crime. If you have somebody who completely corrupts the office of president and who abuses trust and who poses great danger to our liberty, you don't need a technical crime.
How clear can you be, right? And that is actually the right interpretation of it, right? High crimes and misdemeanors, it's determined by the House of Representatives what meets that criteria. Even the Supreme Court itself can't look into whether the House of Representatives impeaches someone, whether that impeachment is valid. They can't look and say, okay, well, because you impeached them for jaywalking, that is going to be an invalid impeachment. The Supreme Court said in a 1993 case, Nixon v. United States, Judge Nixon, not President Nixon, that the Constitution doesn't give a role to the judiciary in impeachment. So if the House impeaches for jaywalking, the Supreme Court can't even look at that case to say, okay, or will not look at that case to say that's right or wrong, because it's not their role and they don't have the authority to do that. So that's what we're talking about. So the House can impeach you for whatever it wants. Now, you can make an argument that it should be only for one thing or it shouldn't be for only one thing. But the reality is the House of Representatives has the sole power to impeach. Now, the Senate, the U.S. Senate, has the sole power to, and I like to say it this way, to judge those impeachments. So when the House impeaches, the Senate judges the House's impeachment. And they can say, well, this is not enough for us, or this is not enough to convict. But that judgment is separate than the actual impeachment of itself. So let's listen to Alan Dershowitz now explain why you need a crime to impeach.
The Senate refused to remove Andrew Johnson because Justice Curtis successfully argued that you need a crime. Without a crime...
Now, just to be clear, Andrew Johnson survived conviction for impeachment by one vote. So, because he almost got impeached and was survived by one single vote, the closest ever, now Alan is saying that that should be precedent to say that you could only impeach for criminal activity.
There can be no impeachment. You find offenses that subvert the very essence of democracy. Again, for example, Iran-Contra, going behind the back of
staying off
Congress.
that a second.
Well, what about if you, let's say, go behind the back of Congress and add a condition to military aid that Congress has already allocated through law? Oh, that may be an impeachable offense. Well, if he was a Democrat, it would be. But let's see Alan talk about it now.
You needed proof of an actual crime. It needn't be a statutory crime, but it has to be criminal behavior.
So we say, so again, and this is great. This is great. I think this is a great exercise for you to understand that this man is not giving you any type of real advice, right? What he's doing is he's just telling you what his client is paying him to say. He's not giving you any objective, legal, scholarly opinion about, the state of affairs of the U.S. Constitution. He's just feeding you a narrative, the narrative that he thinks best suits his client. Let's continue.
Criminal in nature. I wasn't wrong.
Now, he says he wasn't wrong before. So either he was right before when he said you do not need a crime to impeach. So that's what he said before. You do not need a crime to impeach. Here's the cleanup.
I am just far more correct now than I was then. I said you didn't need a...
You see, that's why they're laughing. Because he's trying to clean it up. Listen, we all know the BS. Alan is full of BS. He now is being paid by the president to defend him. And he's one of those TV lawyers. Go out on TV and tell people you need a crime. Remember? Narrow the box. Narrow the box. And for Bill Clinton, the box, there is no box. It can be whatever. The most upsetting part about this is that most people who watch Alan Dershowitz on Fox News, even CNN, they hold his opinion to be that of his reputation. Someone who he defended this is a Jewish attorney who defended neo-Nazis on First Amendment violations because he had consciousness of guilt to say, hey, listen, the Constitution says they get free speech too. And if they can't get free speech, then no one can get free speech. And that's the danger. So, he's a hero. This is something that he does. But just so you understand, his legal analysis is one of a political hack. I don't trust anything that he says on TV anymore. Why? Because he's just telling us what we want to hear. If he was consistent, even with his thought process, he was a Harvard Law School professor back then too. And the reason why he's changed his mind, or he's trying to change his mind, is because somebody has cut him a check and he's getting paid an hourly rate. It is hard to have an opinion different of the person paying you for that opinion. It just is. Leave your comments below. Let me know if you believe Alan Dershowitz is full of shit, or if you believe I'm being too hard on him. If you believe that, hey, he's still reasonable and fair and honest, knowing that now his opinion changes based on who's in office. If this was a Democrat being impeached, I don't think he'd be saying this. I think he'd be saying something different. It's just the truth. Leave your comments below. Let me know how you feel. My name is Nate, lawyer, YouTuber. I'll see you next time on impeachment. We'll see what happens.